For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It's a very special episode today on Viewpoints. I'm here with Dr. John Gerlach, and we are here with Becky McCraney.
Hello.
How are you doing, Becky?
I'm doing great.
Good. It's so good to have you on today's podcast. And so let's just dive right in. But first, we want to say that we obviously are here with Becky McCraney, who is helping us today talk about a couple important topics today at the heart of Christmas. And so, Becky, let's just dive right into the first question.
All right, Becky, I'm so excited for this first question. Tell us a little bit about the history of the store, kind of how it got going, who is Miss Casey, all that kind of stuff.
That is wonderful. Well, I have to say that I own Miss Casey's with my sister, Kathy Harrison, and she's not here. She's out celebrating her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Exactly. So she's having a good time, but people ask us all the time, are you Miss Casey? Well, who is Miss Casey? Did she own the store? And the truth be told is family has always been a big deal for Kathy and I, and how we were raised, how our parents were, how our grandparents were. And Miss Casey was actually Kathy and I's Nana.
Okay.
And just a wonderful Christian woman. The whole Casey sister group, there were 5 Casey sisters. Mamaw Casey raised them on her own after Granddad Casey passed away. There was no boy to carry on the name. And as we were being brought up, we always got together, whether it was in Gatesville or Hamilton, sometimes Fort Worth, at one of the Casey sisters' houses. So I know all my first, second, and third cousins very well. But those Casey sisters were all about getting together, celebrating the holidays. They would decorate some. It was all about the food, all about being with family. But Mom always told us the importance of our Christian heritage and what a difference that made, she felt like, in our family. And so Kathy and I had always done crafts together as kids. We sold things door to door. We were childhood entrepreneurs, always made things. And when we decided to open the store, we bought an existing business and needed to rename it. We felt it was fitting to honor the Casey women and especially our Nana. And so we named it Miss Casey's Christmas Store at that time.
Okay, and the year was what, 1940? No. That's
We were
off a little bit.
23 and 25 when we started.
Okay.
It was in 1984.
Okay.
I had worked for a couple who, that was the first of Christmas stores and all these pop-up shops, and everybody thinks that's all new. They did Christmas pop-ups back in the late 70s, early 80s, and would come to Midland and put in a Christmas store. And I went to work for them and sold Christmas into businesses, office buildings, banks, families, all kinds of things. And then towards the end of the 4th year of me working for them, they were tired of living in Midland a couple of months out of the year and asked if I was interested in buying their business. Kathy was moving back to town, and we got together and managed it the last year, and they took us to market in 1984, and we got going.
All right.
Well, I know, if you've been or living in Midland for a long time, everyone knows about Miss Casey's. And so I would say that you and your sister are very influential in the Permian Basin. But I've even talked to friends like in Dallas, and I've shown them pictures of the store, and they've never really even seen anything like it. So would you say that y'all are kind of pioneers to have that type of store in the Permian Basin or even in Texas, kind of?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that. Midland is an amazing place. We have people from all over the continent. I mean, I met a girl from Lebanon, and she's part Russian, speaks Russian. I meet people just from all over the world, from Scotland, that come in. And because of the oil business, we are a very international town. With that said, there's a lot of people from all over the United States. When people move here, they're a little maybe disappointed, especially if they've come from someplace pretty.
Right.
But when they discover Miss Casey's, they realize they didn't have anything like that where they were from. They're so proud to show it off to whoever comes into town. And I recently had a girl who was new to coming in the store, and she's from California, and she goes, I brought my mom in. My mom's traveled all over the world, all over the United States, and she said, there's nothing like Miss Casey's.
I believe it.
And we take that as a true compliment because our gifts and talents are being used, and we're not trying to show off with them, but we have an amazing team of talented, creative individuals that we get to show off their talents as well.
Absolutely. And like I said at the very intro of this podcast, we wanted you to come on to just talk about a couple things. And I know, like with me and John, we experience it in a different light, but we're in our sermon series called The Heart of Christmas. And so it's very important to keep our focus on the main thing. And so how would you, and you live in it every day, how would you keep the heart of Christmas in the busiest time of year?
You know, that's such an interesting question because we get so wrapped up in it. And John's very familiar with our business because Altalyn, his wife, has worked with us 37 of our 38 years.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
he's got
You
some,
didn't know that?
yes, he's got
You
some
all go way
old,
back.
yeah, we go way back. He's got some old glitter at his house that's been around for a long time.
Speaking of which, you know that Becky has been at the store today because she has glitter all over her. Just like Altalyn
listeners,
always
if you
has
can't
glitter.
see,
You
there's
kind
glitter
of
everywhere.
look at their face and you see the glitter. And, yeah,
See, I thought that was just a routine thing.
No, they just throw glitter on each other.
Yeah.
They walk in, throw glitter on each other. Yeah.
It's pretty funny. It gets to be a pretty good joke about it. You know, it can be very difficult because in the midst of it, our busiest time is the month of November and the first week of December. We're a little bit different than retail, where retail really ramps up going into the gift buying because we're all about decorating, and
Right.
people are taking permission for themselves to decorate as soon as Halloween's over with.
Right.
And our decorating teams are busy and crazy. So the store's been crazy, and it can get difficult. You can really lose sight of the whole reason why I even get to sell things with glitter on them, and that's to celebrate the birth of Christ. And I think as Christians and growing up in a Christian home and being raised in a wonderful church family like Crestview, it's a little bit maybe easier for us to, because of having that so deep inside of us and such an important part of our lives, that I'm able to draw from that, and Kathy and I are able to, and we have to remind each other, the reason for the season is Jesus, because you can get, pretty stressed out. The other thing that we really get an opportunity to do is to meet so many wonderful people within our community. We get an opportunity to give back and to participate and be a part of. We got to be a part of the Field's Edge opening their new facility and to bless them with a decorated Christmas tree.
Right.
Many times we'll have someone come in with just a heartbreaking story and needing to do something, and one of our girls will say, I want to take care of this. Don't charge them. You let me take care of this. There's all kinds of opportunities that I think God allows to cross our pathways that gives us an opportunity to give back.
Wow.
And we all feel so much better when we give. Sometimes it's just me getting to tie a bow for someone that they're thrilled with, their face lights up, and they go home and they get to share it with their family and friends. And we always like to tell people it doesn't have to be elaborate. It's not all about the decorations. We want people to enjoy the holidays with their family and friends. And I think y'all probably experience it comparing our church to other churches or what they're doing. We all do it to ourselves. What does our home look? How decorated are we? Is
Right.
the party perfect? Was the food this way? Was it that way? Man, you just got to give yourself permission to take a deep breath, step back, focus on Jesus and what really is important, and how the whole reason why God sent him. And that was so that we can celebrate Christmas. We can celebrate the birth of Christ and us having new life and everlasting life by believing in Christ. And that is more than enough reason to celebrate.
That's so good. I love what you said, that you have kind of those little reminders that you and your sister or your people that work for you, you kind of just step back and go, this is the reason why we're doing this. And so, but before the podcast, me and you, Becky, were talking a little bit. How would you deal with criticism when people maybe don't understand? And I know being in the church world, sometimes people don't understand the things we do. But you, like I said, being in it constantly, how do you deal with people and to help them understand this is why we do what we do?
Right. I think one thing that Kathy and I at different times have struggled with is, gosh, we're commercializing Christmas so much. It's not about Santa. It's really about Jesus. Well, I'm not going to sell a lot of product that's only a nativity store. That's just the truth. And we're in this business to make money for our families, to bless our employees and our team, and to bless other efforts around the Permian Basin. We have done so much as to have billboards that highlighted the word Christ and Christmas. Remember Christ and Christmas. We've gotten criticized, I was telling you, on social media sometimes that we're just commercializing Christmas. We just don't know the true meaning of Christmas, and shouldn't we do this? And one time I think I even included Xmas in something and just got lambasted for doing that. And it's hard sometimes not to lash out, and really we've got to stop and think. They don't know my heart. Right. They don't know where Kathy and I come from. They don't know what we do. I think it's easy for somebody to sit back and point a finger. But I was telling you in a study that I've been doing by John Eldridge on resilience, and him talking about the glory of Eden and the beauty of Eden and the glory of the temple and the instructions for what God gave and how stuff was built, how ornate, how detailed, the gold, the attention, the creativity, the craftsmen that had to be there to do all that. Those are God-given talents.
For sure.
Kathy and I have to recognize that God's given us these talents and abilities. He's given many people on our team those abilities that we get to share with others. The best thing for me is to be able to teach someone else to do what I do, and for them to get the accolades and the attaboys from the family and everything when they go home and do the decorating. That's what we get our greatest strength out of. We have a statement at Miss Casey's. It's create, inspire, educate to decorate. And we create this over-the-top store. That's what we enjoy doing. We're very theatrical. Kathy especially is hanging off the man lift and doing all kinds of stuff. And there's an airplane hanging up and everything because we want to wow people.
Absolutely.
We want your jaw to drop.
Yeah.
So we create this beautiful store that we hope inspires someone to want to decorate. We want to educate you on how to do it so that you go home and do it. I think as a church, when you do sermon series and you decorate the stage and you plan music out and everything, it is to inspire people to move something in there, to allow the Holy Spirit to take that, to move them. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's all of what God's given us.
Oh, that's good.
That's awesome. Well, Becky, thank you so much. I have two last questions. I'm going to go to you first, Becky, and then I'll end with John. To the listener, and we have a lot of people that listen throughout the week in their cars or maybe at their house with the Alexa, but what would be your viewpoint on Christmas to them?
Viewpoint on Christmas. Wow. Jesus is definitely the heart of it. I think for me, as I get older, I realize what's a big deal and what's not a big deal. And trying to love on those around me. I've had to give up on having the perfect Hallmark Christmas, and I tell people to give that up. We're not going to have a perfect Hallmark Christmas. We don't have perfect families. There were no perfect families in the Bible.
Right.
I'm going to have maybe one set of kids home for Christmas. I don't know what the other ones are going to get to do. I don't know when I'm going to see them to give their Christmas gifts to them. But I just got to let it go. I'm going to celebrate and enjoy those that do come home and have fun with the others at a different time during the year. We just sometimes get this expectation in our head, and we've watched all these Hallmarks, we've watched all this stuff on social media and Facebook and everything, and we set ourselves up to have this disappointment, and God doesn't want us to have that. So I think look at what you're setting yourself up for, and maybe lower those expectations a little bit. Right. And then enjoy the moment and those little things that make a difference. Don't miss those little opportunities that God has for you to give back, to say hello to someone, to help someone during this time. There's a lot we can do.
That's awesome. And John, I'm going to throw it to you. What would be one thing that you would leave the listener with today? And I know that we're still continuing in this sermon series of the Heart of Christmas.
Yeah, I think the heart of Christmas, I think Becky said it really well, and I think another part of it, and one thing to highlight is tell everybody real briefly, you guys also sponsored the Wives of the Veterans.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that just real quick, and then I have one final.
Okay. Show of support that's here in Midland. I started with Terry back when, however long he's been doing it. We decorated the first stage for him. There was a few wives that came, and I gave them a $25 gift card. Felt great about it. They came by the store, and I gave them an ornament or something. It has progressed into this most amazing event where they bring the wives in and they treat them to a couple of days like they're royalty. We get an opportunity to host them at the store. We give some money towards a gift card, and someone else, local resident, gives more to them, and they have a $350 gift card to spend at the store in about an hour and a half. It is the best day of the year for all of our team to see these women who are truly serving their country, their families, and their husbands, to hear their stories of heartache and heartbreak and the disabilities that their husbands have and what they deal with daily. That little bit of joy that we can bring in their lives, it's huge. It's just a big deal to us.
Yeah, I was at the show for support, the banquet or whatever, and I think that was such a great. That's one of the things that you were example. And one just last thing, Jordan's a little embarrassed to ask it, so I'm going to ask it for him. But he wanted to know if he could get a Miss Casey shirt because he's always talking about how he wish he had kind of a Christmas type shirt.
Does it come with the glitter on
Yeah, it comes with the glitter.
And Becky has, they have different things they wear. So Jordan, he's a little embarrassed to bring it up, but if that could happen,
I would love one.
I don't know, whatever you
We'll
want
get
to,
we'll get you a happy place
whatever,
shirt.
whatever you
I
need
would
to
love it.
whatever you need to charge him.
But my wife will want one too, so make
Oh,
sure you bring
okay.
it to.
Okay, all right.
It'll come complete with glitter, that's for sure.
Well, awesome. Again, thank you so much, Becky. I can't thank you enough. I was helped just understanding the meaning of Christmas a little bit better in this interview, and John, we're just so excited for Christmas Eve as well. Those services are coming up. To the listener, we pray that this has blessed you. We hope to see you next time. God bless.